When a French painter started experimenting with a new technique of painting in the early 1880s, he ended up completing an incredible masterpiece. This painting by Georges Seurat is titled The Sunday Afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte, and it depicts a large number of Parisians enjoying a day on the banks of the Seine River. At least, that's what it initially appears to be, but as you'll soon discover, Seurat's motivations were quite different than merely depicting people enjoying a day out. Where are these people looking at? Why are they cast in shadows? And why is this woman holding a monkey on a leash? To understand the painting, we need to take a closer look at Seurat's story, as well as the accompanying painting he made 2 years earlier titled Bathers at Asnières. In this video, you'll also learn why the Pointillism technique he used, or divisionism as he preferred to call it, is so incredible. After all, this painting took 2 years to complete and consists of over 220,000 dots. Georges Seurat was born in Paris on December 2, 1859, and grew up in the area of the Gare du Nord in the French capital. Unlike many of his colleagues, he grew up in a rich family as his father became incredibly wealthy by speculating on the booming real estate market. Art was pretty much his thing because he first studied at a local art school as a child and joined the prestigious École des Beaux-Arts in Paris as a young man. When he was approaching his 20th birthday in November 1879, he was called up for military service. Reluctantly, he spent a year at the Brest Training Center, a place that still serves as a military academy for the French Navy today. It was one of the only times that he left Paris for an extended period of time during his short life, as he died aged 31 from an undiagnosed disease. During this period, he was together with his best friend, fellow artist Edmond Amangean, with whom he rented a studio upon his return. During the first years of the 1880s, he meticulously studied the art of monochrome drawing using Conté crayons. The result was an incredible portrait of his friend Amangean. This was Seurat's first artwork that was displayed publicly at the Paris Salon of 1883. The fact that he spent several years working on perfecting his technique to produce a single drawing tells you all about his dedication. He was a hyper-focused individual who always believed that he would make a permanent mark on the world of art. That's exactly what he did, as in the following couple of years, he developed his own distinctive pointillist style. He switched from monochrome drawings to colorful dotted works of art. In order to completely change his color scheme, he carefully studied the works of Eugène Delacroix at the Louvre. That wasn't such a bad idea, because Delacroix was one of the greatest masters of color to have ever lived. By 1882, he had perfected his technique and started making studies for the first of the two monumental masterpieces that now define his career. Just like his depiction of La Grande Jatte, Bathers at Asnières depicts people who are enjoying a Sunday afternoon on the banks of the Seine River. This painting is distinctively brighter, and the factories in the background make it clear that these are common workers. On the other hand, the finely dressed people in La Grande Jatte were typical members of the French bourgeoisie in the 19th century. Claude Monet already painted the harsh conditions of French laborers in Asnières in his 1875 painting titled Men Unloading Coal. Seurat chose to depict a scene of leisure, as you can see several young men enjoying their weekly day off. They look across the river, and as you surely guessed, at the people of the bourgeoisie on the island of La Grande Jatte. Although he completely moved away from the academic art that he studied at the École des Beaux-Arts, he did, however, learn things in school that he used in this painting. The composition of Bathers at Asnières looks strikingly similar to that of the Finding of Moses. This was a painting by 17th century French painter Nicolas Poussin, which he studied intensively during his first year at the academy. One of the most fascinating studies he made was the one of the boy on the right, who appears to be shouting at the people across the river. This Conté crayon drawing is another incredible work of art in itself, and it once again highlights the talent he was blessed with. By 1884, he completed Bathers at Asnières, and as expected, it was rejected by the Paris Salon that year. It was, however, displayed at the exhibition of the Society of Independent Artists, of which Seurat was a founding member in 1884. Even though it received mixed reviews because of the revolutionary technique he used, Seurat didn't plan to change his style. He started working on what is now considered to be his ultimate masterpiece in May of 1884, and completed it exactly 2 years later in May 1886. Within months, he completed his first study, a fascinating oil-on-canvas painting that is now on display at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. Yes, the study of the final version is definitely an impressive painting as well. In this oil painting, you can see why he preferred to use the term divisionism instead of pointillism. His ultimate goal was to separate several colors with dots, which in turn would be blended and appear to the viewer as larger color patches. Up close, this doesn't seem to be making much sense. It's only when viewed from a distance that the blended colors become clear. He ultimately tried to increase the luminosity in paintings, something that worked remarkably well. Georgeseurat executed this style with mathematical precision, and astoundingly, he painted over 220,000 dots to complete this composition. His rigid approach to painting, which is almost abstract in nature, was in sheer contrast to the sentimental messages he wanted to convey. This brings us to the people who are depicted in A Sunday Afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte. Just like in the first painting he completed, they are having a relaxing day off, and just about every figure stares across the river. The striking difference is that just about everybody in this painting is cast in a shadow, either by a tree, an umbrella, or another person. Seurat purposely tried to do this to emphasize the gloominess of their existence and highlight his resentment for the French bourgeoisie. In contrast, the legs of the man in the bottom left corner bathe in light. His legs point across the river, and it's as if the light from the people across the Seine shines upon them. Another interesting figure is the little girl who is accompanied by her mother in the center of the composition. It's the only figure who isn't cast in a shadow and who stares directly at the viewer. She might be interpreted as a quiet witness of the lifestyle of the French elite and who silently questions it. On the left side of the painting, a well-dressed woman is fishing, which is obviously a pretty uncommon sight in a Parisian park. She serves as a metaphor for the prostitutes who visited La Grande Jatte at the time and who were trying to attract customers. The woman who has a pet monkey on a leash dominates the right side of the painting. It was Seurat's way of expressing his resentment of the absurd behavior of the French upper-class people. Both paintings together can be seen as a warning sign for these people, and it indicates on which side Georgeseurat was on. The final clue that confirms this theory is the dotted border of the painting, which Seurat painted in inverted colors. This served as another warning for the bourgeoisie, as the painter tried to tell them that they had to change their ways, or their way of life would be turned upside down. Now here's another interesting fact related to the composition of A Sunday Afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte. Georgeseurat once stated that he was inspired by the Parthenon frieze, the relief sculpture that once decorated the upper section of the Parthenon in Athens. Part of the frieze was on display at the Louvre Museum at the time, and Seurat was a frequent visitor of the museum in his native Paris. Most figures in his paintings are seen in profile, just like how they appear in this ancient work of art. To conclude, although only a small group of painters adopted Seurat's painting technique, which initiated Neo-Impressionism, I think his efforts are very admirable. Spending 2 years painting nothing but hundreds of thousands of dots is simply incredible. He got some criticism after completing his first painting, but it didn't faze him at all and he continued to do what he believed in. Since 1926, this captivating painting has been in the collection of the Art Institute of Chicago, and it remains one of the museum's ultimate highlights today.